The most interesting thing I learned was about energy and nuclear energy, because I never knew that nuclear energy was actually not as bad as people said it would be, even though like Chernobyl, it was awful there. But when done correctly, it could be the sustainable option for us.
Actually, one of our lab students that I learned about in APES that I thought was super interesting was we learned how a generator works. So that's basically how we get our electricity, which is something that we use on an everyday basis.
I've learned that the problems that the Earth is facing in terms of climate change, they're a lot more real than we think they are, and they're a lot more pressing than we're willing to talk about. So it really forces you to deal with the inevitable future that we're going to be facing, and it forces you to keep it on your mind and think about how you're going to be able to take action, because it's a very real issue that we need to be putting time into.
I think probably the most interesting thing that I learned is where the waste actually goes. I mean, you throw stuff away and don't even think about it, but in the end it ends up somewhere. And to watch, those documentaries where you have the seagulls and they cut them open, there's plastic in them that could easily come from, what you did a month ago. That's kind of, amazing to see actually unfold for you.
The most important thing I learned in APES was that we need to practice sustainability when we're with our resources, so that future generations will have enough resources down the road.
One important thing that I've learned in APES is definitely what global warming actually is and how it's caused and how it affects us and our environment for the future.
I feel like they should take APES because it's a really fun class, and also you learn more than just global warming is bad. You learn how to reduce global warming effects and just even more than just like the environment in general, and learning how to take care of it.
I think you should take APES because it lets you know like the kind of environmental impact you have on things that you have personally, on things that you use on an everyday basis. Like I said earlier, like I learned how electricity works, and you learn the environmental impacts of that, and then things like plastic water bottles that you use every day, and the environmental impacts of that.
I think it's an interesting class. I think it's a relevant class to what we're going through as a society and species right now, with widespread pollution and global climate change. I think it's a really responsible thing to do, to take the class and learn how you can make the world cleaner and safer, more sustainable for future generations.
I think when you're looking at science, I think a lot of people don't want to major in chemistry or physics or something like that, but more like they have to take a science because it's required. And I think if you're going to take a science, APES is something that you're going to be able to relate to for the rest of your life. I mean, whether you're in business or even if you are going to be, a chemist or a physicist, this is something that relates to not just you, but everybody around you, something that you can learn to take better care of the earth. Essentially, it's going to be our generation that has to deal with how we're going to make Earth more sustainable.
You should take APES because not only is it looks good for colleges, it's full weight class, you learn a lot, you do some fun stuff, there's some fun projects, experiments. Overall, it's a good, well-rounded class.
It was really interesting and actually a fun class. It's not just like another science class. We did a lot of like hands-on things, and it's just good information to know.
For my Do Something project, I had a guest speaker came in, and he talked about his company, which is US Food Systems, and how his company reduces water pollution, and also careers that you may not necessarily connect with environmental protection that actually do care about the environment.
For my Do Something project, I'm taking plastic bags that you get at a grocery store, and I'm fusing them together, like ironing them together, and then I'm going to make them into a new, more sturdy, reusable tote bag. So it'll use, I think it's about 30 plastic bags that you can, which you would normally just throw away, and it's in landfill, and plastics are not biodegradable, so they would just sit there. And now it's into something that could be reusable.
My Do Something project is going to a park in Noblesville and removing invasive species from the land that outcompete the native species for soil nutrients. So we're removing honeysuckle and other invasive plants brought over from Asia that are overtaking the land.
So my Do Something project is I worked at the Carmel Cafe and Market earlier this year. So my Do Something project will be interviewing several members of the cafe and market and finding out where they get their supplies, where their products come from, where they're made, how they get to the cafe. Essentially conducting like a life cycle analysis and presenting it to the members of leadership for next year and giving recommendations on how we can lessen the environmental impact that the Carmel Cafe Market has.
My Do Something project is I'm working with Hamilton County Kids Coats to collect coats for needy families in Hamilton County, but I'm putting an environmental spin on it by showing the emissions we're saving by recycling the coats as opposed to getting new ones.
My Do Something project is collecting denim jeans to donate to be recycled into insulation for communities who can't afford insulation for their homes to either keep their house warm in the winter. So by doing that, it keeps them out of landfills, which helps the environment, and it can also help people who need that kind of support.
Awesome.